Good afternoon, everyone, and we are starting off today with Unreal Engine 5 and something a bit different. We're going to do a short tutorial on widget switchers to give you guys, or whoever's interested, a look at them and how we actually implement them. Okay, so I have a little project here called tutorials where I record tutorials. Well, keep clicking on it, Dante. Actually, I just randomly pick a screenshot I've done, so you're actually lucky I picked the rocket launcher. But that might be a tactic for YouTube clicks. Rather sneaky. Yeah, I should really make it of like bikini clad women or something like that, you know. Hopefully that would maybe get me more clicks, but I'm guessing I'd soon be found out. Right, we're just waiting on this loading up, then we'll have a look. As I said, we're starting off today with a little look at widget switchers. Okay, so now here we go. Right, so that is obviously something different. And we don't want, well, it doesn't really matter. Right, so we want our third person character. So we shall click on that, open up the blueprint, and we shall see what a widget switcher does. Hey Damien, Dante, Mr. Spock. I'll say hello to everybody, that's a good thing to do. 5 concurrent viewers, that's crazy for me. But anyway, right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at a widget switcher, and then I'll explain what it does and how it does it, okay? So, a widget switcher. This is our widget switcher here. And these buttons are controlling the widget switcher. Okay? If I click on a button, you'll see that we turn the color, right? But this isn't doing what you think it's doing, right? And let me show you why. What this is, if we go to look at the widget itself, right, if I can click on the right thing for a minute. Okay, so here is our widget. Okay, so the first important part is this vertical box, which has a horizontal box, right, with our 5 buttons in it. Okay, and then it has another horizontal box with our widget switcher on it. Okay, now a widget switcher, if we look at what's inside the widget switcher, each of these items has an index beginning at 0. So for example, this is index 0 on the widget switcher. Okay, this is index 1, index 3, 2, index 3, index 4. Okay? Now, whatever is at the first level down from the widget switcher has an index. Okay, and it's in the order that you have them. Okay? So, inside the widget switcher, I have got an image that is white. Inside this index, I have the same thing, but the image is red. In here, I have an image, but it's green. Right? So, what's actually happening here? Hi, Kofi, how are you, mate? So, each of these relates to a colour, right? But these all have their index. Now, the way I'm controlling it is with these buttons, right? So, you will notice the white button, if I look at the code, each of these buttons set the widget switcher in the active index. Okay? So, basically these buttons are just selecting one of the 5 indexes. Okay? So, let's change it slightly just to give you a better idea. So, if I go back to Designer, right, and I minimize those down, right, so we've got index 0, remember, index 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now, if I add another button, so I duplicate that, right, and then I go to the code, and then I click it, then what I can do is I can get my widget switcher, so I can get my widget switcher, and I can say set active widget index. Okay? And this one is going to be a new one, and it's going to be 5. Okay? Now, we have a problem because we don't actually have an index 5. Okay? So, if we save that just now, and we go back to our designer, I'll show you what I mean. We have index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4, sorry. I can't count. So, what we could actually do here is we could bring in anything we want. Right? We could create a whole new menu item here. Right? Or, alternatively, what we can actually do is bring in a sub-widget, right? So, let's say we brought in the health widget, okay? And you'll notice when we drag it into here, it gets an index of its own. So, remember, it's the top level. So that's index 0, index 1, index 2, 3, 4, and W health is now index 5. Okay? So, what we can do here is make this relatable, and we can say health. Okay, so we've got health here. So if we compile that, now let's see how that affects our widget switcher. Okay, so we've still got our white, still got our red, still got our green, still got our purple, got our yellow, but now we show a completely different thing. We show another widget. Okay, and that's because we are on index 5. We can click on there and that's going to turn it back to the yellow picture. That's a widget. So you can have anything you want here as like a subcategory of things. And my mouse has just disappeared. Okay. So directly below the widget switcher, all the first childs of the widget switcher have an associated index. So once again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now, if I was to delete one of these, health has now become index 4. Okay, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now when I hit yellow, it's going to actually show the health. And if I hit this one, it's not going to do anything because we don't have an index 5 anymore. Okay, so let's have a look at that. And for some reason it's decided that it's not going to show my mouse anymore in the window. Okay, are we doing this here somewhere? Apparently not. I mean, I suppose we can UI. Right, we can just set that just so that and that will be self. So don't know why it's doing that actually. If this is an Unreal Engine 5 thing. See that how it's right, you see that? It's disappearing, the mouse. Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's see, show. It's just going to be a pain in the arse, isn't it? Right, anyway. So, was that a good enough explanation of what a widget switcher is? Guys? Let me know in the comments if that is enough or you want to see something else. For some reason it's having a little fit to itself. But our widget switcher, as I said, what you can do is if I duplicate that, it's going to be back to what it was. But you'll see here that if I delete this, right, and if I was to like create, let's say, a button, right, you would see the button here. Okay, so the widget switcher basically is a subset of indexes that it's going to show or hide depending on what index is selected. Once again, I'll explain this, right? Index 0, index 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay? And then you'll either have buttons or whatever to control what the active index is. Okay, so what I'll do now is I shall show you where I use a widget switcher in Fabrica Espace. Okay, so I do use it, and it's going to become pretty obvious where I use it when you guys see it. And it will maybe make a bit more sense in the context of an actual build of a game. Yes, I have a Roland Phantom 8 X8. That's not mine. That's not my keyboard and it's not my hands, right? But that's what I've got. I'm a synth tinkerer. Back in the day, I had a Juno 6 when they first came out. Don't know what happened to that. Well, actually, I do. I gave it away. Which was, nowadays would be an absolute travesty of justice and would be worth a bloody fortune. Somebody tell me how much a Juno 6 goes for. I know OB6, Oberheim. Oh, I remember them back in the day. I think it was Oberheim Jump was done on, wasn't it? It was an Oberheim. I know the guy for Simple Minds also used an Oberheim a lot. Right, so if we go into our UI in Fabrica Espace, right, and we go into the main menu, okay, and as I was telling you, Mr. Spock, this is my controller for the menus, and pawn for the menu, right? So they're completely separate controllers. And if we look at our main menu, now this is obviously made up. Okay, this is a bit complicated. This is a little more complicated than what I would want to normally show. Yeah, I think when I got it, it was about, I think it was 500 quid. It was either 500, 600 or 800, I can't remember. Someone tells me it was 500, but I can't be sure about that. Right, so we obviously have this split up into sub-menus. I'm making, what am I making? Yeah, I'm making a cross between Satisfactory, Factorio, Surviving Mars, and a hint of Run World. Right, so if we look at this, right, the options screen in the main menu, well, guess what? Where does that look familiar? Yeah, these are all Widget Switcher. This is a Widget Switcher. Right, so let me show you. Look at that, Widget Switcher. And it's got a set of first child. So if we actually click on these, we'll be able to see them. Right? So the first one is our audio. The second one is our resolutions or display. Well, I would recommend me as well, to be fair. Now, I don't believe that. It says I've got 17 current viewers, right? Which would be about 10 more than I've ever had, or even more than that, right? It's going crazy. It's saying I've got 25 current viewers, and I just don't believe that. Right, so we've got visuals. So that's all our anti-alias and post-process and all that crap. Then we have the key bindings. Now you'll see that there's nothing in these, and that's because these are all filled in code, right? So all of these are like sub-menus of sub-menus, right? And they are programmatically or procedurally generated, right? And the final one is, if you guys have watched before, this is the ones for setting up all the colors of your menus and stuff in the game, right? So all of my settings in the options are controlled by a widget switcher, right? The widget switcher's here, and the buttons can set the active index for the widget switcher. Okay, so let's have a look at that in action, shall we? So we click on options. This is the buttons connected to our widget switcher. So it starts off at the default 0. Okay, so this is what's in index 0. Actually, this part here. Okay, if we click on this one, it sets the index to 1, and it shows what's in index 1. We click on visuals, index 2, key bindings, index 3, game colors, index 4. And that, my friends, is how a widget switcher works. We just set the widget switcher index, and we stuff underneath into the widget switcher all of the different things that we actually want. Okay, like so. Okay, so let's get back out of there. Press continue, and we'll take a look at the graphs again. And what we're doing with the graphs is we can now switch the graphs off and on. That's some work I did this morning on it. I have tidied up our minute graph, even though it's still kinda, I'm not 100% happy about it, put it that way, right? But it works. So let's take a look at the graphs currently. We need to set our recipes properly. And we can now join these up. And come on. Right, so now we've got our conveyor belts and we've got our products, and what we need to do now is add more workers so that we're going to produce more stuff. Then we can look at the graph. And now the difference from last night, right, is it's working better. We can actually switch these on and off now, right? So we can actually switch off bauxite, like so. Right, that shouldn't have came back. That should not have came back. Right, I don't know why that's coming back. Okay, but we can take a look at that, right? That's one thing we can take a look at. Now, I did test this earlier with multiple miners, and it was working. Right, I'm not buying the number of views here, the number of concurrent viewers. It did this to me last night as well. Right, so we've not got the hour one yet, but we have got the minute. Right, and there are a few wee little tweaks needed because it's drawn too many over this side for some reason. This only happens when there's more than one thing on the graph. Right, but we can actually do the minute one, right, which gives us a 30-minute set of intervals. Let me do that, right? You see, this is coming back up again. I don't know why it's doing that. Right, let's take a look at it, right? So we'll look at the code, we'll look at the logic, and we'll work out why it ain't working properly. And we can maybe do it while we let it run. So, if we come down into our stats folder, we can look at our stats and believe it or not, it isn't done from here. It's done from the controller which has an actor component that keeps track of the stats. Okay, and actually that is in here under the stats counter, and this is it here. Okay, so what we do when we come in, when this starts up, okay, we set up a structure of whether it's active or not, right? So we get each product and we say, is it active on the chart? And by default we say yes for everything. Okay, now for some reason these are actually being reset somewhere. Okay, and I need to find out where. So we get refresh series. Okay. And this is returning active from here. Okay, so we're getting it from here, which is the counter component, and that should work. But the problem is it's being reset somewhere, right? But that's strange. Hi, offline Mo. Not really, because it's an asset that was part of a pack. It's just a material. I mean, if you join my Discord and message me later, I'll post a picture of the material or something so you can make it yourself. Right, so on the begin play, hey somebody, how you doing, mate? Right, so there's something weird going on here, right? Because, right, we'll do this, right, and we'll re-show it. So we've got all the widgets, right, and that gives us our graph, and that's working great. But the problem is, when we click the widget, it goes off. When it refreshes, it comes back on again. Right? Right, so we need to find out where and how it's actually setting this all up. Or where, in fact, right, so this initialized graph is not being used, so I'm going to delete that. Well, I can't delete it because I'm running. Okay, whatever. Right, we're setting the ranges. right? So it can't be that. So the question is, where is this being reset? Oh, it's not in there, right? And I'm pretty sure it can't be in here either. But I don't know where the frick it is. I mean, this is where it's doing it, right? Default settings. Right, that's just setting up chart options, right? Okay, that doesn't actually do a lot. Now, the only place that I can see this actually doing it is here, right? And from here, it should be getting the return active, right? Okay, I'm going to change this slightly and try it. Right, for you guys out there, right? Normally, I don't get 100 views during the stream, okay? For some reason, I am currently on 659. Actually, now I'm on 663. There is definitely an issue and a problem with YouTube. Right, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to create a local variable, right? And we're going to call it temp active, right? Then when we come in, well, we'll do that in a minute. What we're going to do is we're not going to do that. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to return active there, but we're going to set temp active here. So if it's true, we're going to be true. We could have actually filled it in here and just put this in. Or actually this one. So we actually just put that there. Right, and then the value is getting pulled for the array. Okay, and then we can hit the break on this. And then we'll tidy this up a bit. And then basically what we do is we do completed into there. Okay. It says invite invalid. Right, give me a second. Right, that. I don't know why it keeps... Right, I'll post that. Right, there you go. Okay, so we've just done this a slightly different way. I don't know if this is actually going to make any difference. I don't see why it would have an issue with saying the word Twitch. I mean, it's an English word. You can say it without meaning a certain gaming streaming platform. Right, so back to this. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Right, we need to select the recipes for these. Then we can join these up again. Join that up again. Right. And now we need to add some workers. Then we need to show the graph. Did I or did I not? If I goofed. I can't. I never made the editor visible. Damn it. Well, not that that really matters if it actually works anyway, but have we got, yeah, we've got a widget now. Right. So guys, do you think it's going to work? Apparently not. And the very strange thing was that this was working, definitely working earlier. So I don't know what is going on here. It's bloomin' bizarre. Right, so well, that's not it. Right. So this is the thing that redraws our series, right? So what it does is it removes all the series. It gets the data table, gets rows from a data table. It loops through them then it looks for the item, adds the series with the ID and says if it's enabled or not, right? So that's basically how it works. And then when we hit a button, or which we haven't got open, so let's open that button up. So it's in stats. So in here in the state selector, if we go to the graph and we click one of the buttons, we change the widget to show that it's checked or not checked. And then we say data series data. Oh, and I'm an idiot. Right, hang on a second. Ah! Right, okay. I know what the problem is. We're not setting the value in the array. So we're setting it to start with, or at that current time, but it's getting reset because we're not actually setting the value in our array. What a silly person. But that's easy to fix because all we do is we do this and we set array element and we put it there. Okay, and we do that. Then I wish I would stop hitting that button on the side of my mouse. That would help a lot. It's right next to my pinky on the left hand side. I'm left handed, you see, even though it's a right handed mouse. So what we do is we do our product in here and our new enabled value in here, and then we join this to here, and that should be us. So we then save it and go. Or do you want to see a rocket, do you? There's your rocket. It is pretty cool actually. And the funny thing is, I was actually going to take the distortion thing out of this particle effect because I didn't really like it very much. Or it's maybe the sort of weird ring explosion thing I'm not so keen on. So I was actually going to amend that particle effect, right? But anyway, back to the point that we're trying to actually fix. Okay. we select that, close that. Okay, Mo. You can message me later or whatever with what it is you're wanting, and if I can send the material or like do a screenshot of the material setup for you for that distortion effect. Because I would imagine it's just one emitter, so it's probably going to be, I'm not too sure if, I don't know if it's a Niagara or if it's a oldie one, whatever the oldie one's called, I can't remember. The old particle effects system. Right, so I'm not 100% sure which actual one it is. Right, graph. Okay, blue, go away. Yay, there we go. Blue, come back. Yay. Iron, go away. And why did the blue go away? Or did I switch that off and leave it off? Why is bauxite not working? What's going on? Or has this changed colour? Okay. Well, apparently that's broke everything. Which is hardly ideal, and we've got people outside shouting their heads off. Right, so I think this would be an opportune moment to go and grab a cigarette, so I shall be back in a moment. Stay there, guys, and we'll fix this up. Okay guys, we're back, and for some reason some of these came back, but bauxite doesn't seem to want to come back. So what we're going to have to do is go into our counter and check this values here, right? Or check those values, right? So if we come in here and we can do that for now to get us up and running, okay? So yeah, just message me Mo and I'll get back to you, okay? When I get the chance, which is usually fairly sharpish. I'll just join this on here while we're at it. The more data we can look at to see what's going on, the better. Right, so we set that to iron, set that to widget, save that. And that'll get us going. We may as well, in the meantime, right, if we go controller and click on the game stat, then series active is gonna right now, that's exactly what I'm expecting at the moment. Bauxite active, active, active. Now these are the variables that are storing whether or not they should show up on the graph, okay? So basically when we select one in a second, when we bring up the graph, we should be able to switch these on and off and we should see what's going on, okay? So we've got iron ore there, right? So we don't need to see copper ore. We want iron sheet, and then we want widgets, right? We want to have a look at widgets. Right, so it's number 12, okay? So now if we open our graph, and then let's say we click on widget, this active should turn off, okay? But only this one should turn off. And that didn't work. Even though it kinda did. Right, so these aren't turning off. Okay? And I think I know why. I think I know why. If we come in here, we don't want to do this, right? And there's a goof. We didn't plug that in. So that was a bit of a super goof. So in actual fact, that can probably stay. And we'll make this a bit more I'll just drag that to there. Then that one can go there. We shall save that. And now we should be able to look to see what's going on. Okay. And I do believe that my views are beginning to drop like a stone. Because I think YouTube has realized that it was bollocks. But hey, we can always dream. Close that. Come on. Right. So do that. And do the graph. Okay. Now, if we show this, but in the meantime, we haven't made widgets yet. We still haven't made widgets yet. There's some stuff coming out now. There's our widget on its way. So we have made widgets. Right. What do you think was real? Mr. Spock, not sure what you thought was real. Right, so now we can click on our comp and there's our widget is open, our block site. So when we click on this, there we go, no longer. And click on it again. Oh, that was the wrong thing. And there we go, it's back. So that seems to be working. right? So if we click on iron sheet, that's good. And we click on it again and it's back. There we go, that's working fine. And we should have some minute data now. A little bit. If we click on that, that didn't do it. Well, it did it now. Don't know why it didn't work the first time. And it should be back visible again. So that's all working now. Okay. So now we have our widget on board. It looks really weird when there's hardly any data there, but it gradually makes sense. Right, it's because there's no data past 5 minutes. So obviously everything's really low at that point. But yeah, that's working now. All of that crap's working. Now, what I can do for you is, where are we? What's going on here? I can't control anything. I can't move my mouse. My mouse has disappeared. What's going on? I mean, we can move this. Oh, my mouse is back. Oh, we don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. Right. I still can't move. There's something weird going on. What? Did that hit the zoom button or something? Well, that's freaking weird. Right, we're going to dismiss that. That didn't happen, right? We didn't see that. Okay, what we're going to do is a couple of years, direct. Right. So what we'll do is we shall make some mines. Oh, there's a thing. there's a thing. I didn't consider the fact that if drones are already on their way somewhere, we shouldn't be able to use the drones. Can somebody write that down somewhere? Please, somebody write that down because I'll forget. Right. Anyway, the point here we're going to do is we're going to create like loads of stuff. Well, by loads of stuff, I mean loads of bauxite. Right? So we're going to create loads of bauxite, and we're going to get it started so that you guys can see the graphs working to scale, so that they scale up, right? Now, it was quite fiendishly clever of me not to make containers cost anything. And by fiendishly devious, I mean I forgot to make them cost something, right? So I can basically put down as many containers as I like, which means that the miners can make as much as they bloody like as well, right? And we should switch off that when we are in spliny mode. Right, so basically what I can do is I can stick down a container here and a container here, and a container drones in use. So we can spin this around to face the right direction, and we can spin this one around. We don't need to, but it just makes it easier. Right, so we're going to build some crap into there. Then build, I wish I would stop doing that. And as I said, I need to change that so that you can't bring up the information window when you're in spline mode, which is another thing we need to write down because we need to fix that as well, and we need to turn that around. I'm quite glad I put that cancel in for the spline. Right, so next thing we need to do is hit L loads of times, and then we need to bring up the graph, and you'll see now, right, that we're producing over 20. Right, so we're now producing 20, which is 4 miners. So that's what number is that? That's a big number. Right, so we click on that. And then this is just basically going to get really big. How many is that? If it's 1 per second, right? So it's 4 per second. So that should be in a minute, if that calculation is right. We should have been 240. I'm not thinking this through straight at all. I'm not. Right, let's have a look at this 10-second one, right? So it's producing 20. But that's the live count. So in 5 seconds it collects 20. Right? So it's basically 12 times 20, which is 240, right? So this should be shooting up at like a crazy amount, right? So this is a whole new minute starting, so this should start shooting up like that. Yeah, that's what we want. This number is going up really fast and the scale matching it. Right, well, there you go, that's 120 now. And yeah, this is doing exactly what it wants. These are getting pushed down, which is good. Yep, that's cool. So that's working well. Yep, so that was 240. That was what we predicted, and that's what it should have done. Right, need to fix this button so it does something. So let's do that first. Okay, so that was in our stats. Go to designer, go to close, get the button unclicked, and basically remove from parent and self, and that's it. So in here we can just do a quick test. We don't need to fill anything in. We just click on it and close. There you go. Right. So our drones, we need to do something with our drones, okay? So let's have a look at our drone. And it's not in there. Or is the AI in there? No. Right, so we need to find our drone. And I'm not too sure where it is. I can't remember. I thought it was in here, but it's not. Yeah, it is. Right, so here's our drone, right? Now, what we need to do here is we need to tell it, we need the variable, and we can say is active. Well, hang on a second, right? We've got a status. We've already got a status. right? So if it's anything other than waiting, then we don't actually do anything, right? If the drone is not waiting, it's doing stuff in here, okay? So we don't need that. Dante, Mr. Spock is going to have to be very careful about what he says here. Right. So, how do I do this? Well, the first thing is we need to decide when we hit the grid, the mining grid, what we actually do. Right? So we need to find out what we actually do when we hit the button when we actually do something. Right? So when we hit the probe button, we go to the game, okay, and it's not there, and it's this one here. We want to know what we do when we hit the probe button, which is here. Okay, and we shall drag this down a bit, and then this down a bit. Right, and when you click on the BP grid, that is when we do something. So here it is, right? And here we go with the drones. And we're getting the drones, right? And we're probably going to have to actually have a think about this one, because it's not quite as simple as saying that we can't do anything, right? Because if we do that, we're going to have to wait, You know, I mean, at the moment we could frig it, right? But really what we should do is like have a weighting number of things. And actually, have we got a number of... Right, so we can get the length of this, okay? Okay, so we're going to do a bit of code in here. Just and it's not going to allow you to do this. Okay. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to get the length of this array, okay, and then we're going to have to do a count. So what we'll do is we'll do a function, right, and we'll call it available drones. Now this is actually a mechanic that I wanted to put in anyway, that if you didn't have enough drones, then it would have an effect on how much you could actually scan, right? So what we're going to do is the output is going to be drones available, and that's going to be an integer, okay? And we can come back in here and we're going to pass in the array of drones, okay? So this is going to be drones, and it's going to be BP drone, and it's going to be an array and then we are basically going to say for each, then we're going to have a local variable and it's going to be int available, and it's going to be an integer, and off of here we're going to say status, and then in here we're going to say equals, and if it's waiting then we add one. This one is going to be removed, so this is going to be branch, so we're going to branch there. This node is going to go under complete. Move this back up. Then we do that. Oops, no we don't. We do that. Then we can drag that out a bit and we can set that to 0. I don't know if it'll take years, but it probably work better. Yeah, it would take years. Right, and this, we're going to get that, and then we're going to increment it. If it's true. Right, and we don't really want the standard macros. Where was that? I just blew it. Did I just close that drone thing? No, I didn't. Except it was in the grid. Right, so back to here. We join that up. By the way, that was my pinky hitting that button again. Right, so we'll do that. Then we'll drag everything across. And on completed, we drag the integer in there. Okay. And that's that. And now we can call this. Right, I never really tidied up this blueprint because it was always a sort of temporary fix, really. Right, so, but the one thing we do want to do here is we want to check the length of this. Right, so we can do it here. We can straighten that out a bit. Then we get the length. And if the number of drones available is greater than the number of spots that we need to check, then move this along a bit. Then we branch off of here. And if that is true, we carry on. Right? So we can move that to there, that to there. And if it's false, we do nothing. Okay. Now, this needs to be rearranged because this has to go over this, over before this, right? Right, we'll delete that out of the way. Right, this isn't really doing anything, but the thing I'm worried about here is this mining probe. Right? No, that's okay. That mining probe thing is okay. Except it's not. Because probably yeah, it spawns the mineral and does everything else. So we actually don't want to do that if we've not got enough drones. Right? So if we come back to here, right, that's just getting the length. So that's all okay. That's setting up the drone. Right, I'm afraid to do this just in case things screw up. Okay, let's just do it. What the hell? No, we're not going to do that either, are we? I mean, once you click on one of these, if this is successful, this should actually go back to normal. Oh, that's if we are in probe mode. Right, so I can leave that, kinda, I think. Then we can do that. And we can move this to the end. Okay. Got a fly round about my nose. Right, we want this, right? We want to capture this as soon as possible, but we'll drag this down here. So that's fine. So we'll drag that to there. We'll tidy all this up later. I promise. Right. So that's done to there. Anybody fancy going to the shop for me? I need cigs and booze. Not that I would condone that type of behaviour, but... Right, so that will be a more interesting result. I can tell you that. Oh. Ooh. Tired. Right, so we can save all that. Right, now we need to change something, and that's going to be our building. And remember how it was shown the graph thing. Remember how it was shown the, if you hover, see, this is this add to spline thing. So my problem is this thing here wasn't working for all of them. Right, let me just check that. Right, so basically what was happening was if I was drawing a spline, right, yeah, if I click on it, it'll show you the thing. Okay, so we need the thing. Now it's definitely not showing this, right? But the problem is, that's end cursor over. The thing is we need to find where it shows us the building info, right? And that's probably here. No, that's hover. Right, clicked on. So we've got remove. Yeah, this is the stuff that's shown as this. Right? So basically we do this again. And this is also going to have add to spline. And I could add this, have an OR and going in here. Actually it's a NOR, but you get the point. But we'll just do it the simple way first. Right? So we basically just plug that in there. And that in there. And that in there. Now, if we're building a spline, it should not show us the info if you click on it. Right? So, oh yeah, right, okay. It's because these buildings aren't active yet. There we go. Right. So like if we do that and click on it, it doesn't bring up the item. Now I think for tonight then, I think this is where we'll finish off. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like button. Check out the description for Discord and Patreon and my previous game on Steam. And we'll be back at 8 PM Central tonight. And the thing is that what I just showed you there, if we have a look, right, is it kinda allows you to build a spline over the top, and it shouldn't allow you to do that, right? So if the spline collides with something, it shouldn't allow you to draw this part of the spline. So we shall work on that. And you can play a game of light cycles if you like with the splines. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I shall hopefully see you tonight at 8 or sometime in the future. You're always welcome, and bye for now.